Volume 4 takes a deep and profound look at the great visionaries, where they were right, where they recognized how consciousness relates to, indeed manifests reality, and where they were wrong. The Buddha, as all teachers, all visionaries, was human. He recognized aspects of life none had seen before him and few afterwards, but he got some things wrong. The Essence of Reality explores how the psyche which you are creates the reality you encounter. Well, here we go. You've found the essence of reality with unique insights into human consciousness, how life actually works. The reality you experience flows in a way that neither religion nor science can recognize. Here you see just how you attract and create the real qualities in your life. No God or any other source dictates your health, success, relationships, only you. To gain awareness of that inner-outer connection and move your life in positive directions, stay tuned and check out other episodes. We have much to cover. Volume 4 pieces have now cut through half of the Buddha inspection, head side of the coin, where Siddhartha Gautama was right in his approach to life and living it. But as insightful as the Buddha's take was 2,500 years ago, or whenever his practices and recommendations were actually rendered to writing and practice, one should maintain the flexibility and open-minded attitude to move on to clearer, more penetrating perspectives when those are presented. The Buddha had taken practices he inherited from his already age-old Hindu traditions and refined a view of life that was a bit clearer. Do look at the previous episode, number 48, if you haven't already, to review that change. But he established a new message that has some shortcomings too, but regarding them leads to a very valuable insight. The Buddha's teachings, never really recorded during or in the time following his passing, eventually evolved into common regard, 4 noble truths that lay out life's condition and an eightfold path to rectify them. The first noble truth indicated that life was invariably tainted with suffering. The second attributed that suffering to desire itself, that is, attachment to desire, an urge that could never be fully appeased. The third proposes that suffering ceases when attachment to craving stops, yielding a state of nirvana. And the fourth explains how to do that. Follow the Noble Eightfold Path. I would offer you yet another truth. Those things aren't exactly right. Tom Nair here, as ever, exploring consciousness. Perspectives here provide visual addition to my website, my books, and some 200 talks I've given to open-minded groups sincerely seeking to understand life. Through a mystic experience and a personal inner journey, I've come to see the oneness of things, an inner-outer connection of self with real events and relationships of daily life. Becoming aware of that connection, you can improve real life by finding and changing inner roots to outer problems. Gautama Buddha's state of nirvana and how to realize it are all about awareness of one's integrated nature. The Buddha put forth a meaning-based view of reality, proposing no gods, no external judgment, no fantasized models, based on his own realization of the nature of consciousness attained by his personal journey. He was not only sharing insight into reality, but explaining how you, the sincere seeker, could attain that level as well. The Buddha did have many unique and trailblazing insights into life, and his practices have doubtless benefited, literally, millions of sincere seekers through time, and continue to do so to the present day. but he's not quite right in his truths or the path to realize them. Let's pinpoint the shortcomings. The Buddha's Four Noble Truths. 1. Life entails suffering. 2. Suffering results from attachment to desire. 3. Suffering ceases when attachment to desire stops. And 4. You accomplish that end via the Noble Eightfold Path. That was quick. The problem with it is, too, there's much more to it than that. Life does indeed often entail suffering and pain, but it also offers great rewards, good feelings from accomplishment and love, from child rearing and art, from music and travel. There are many, many positive, fulfilling aspects of life that equally occupy one's potential. Suffering may have been prevalent 2,500 years ago, in the Buddha's time, and may still dominate many people's lives, but it isn't standard equipment in life by any means and can be eliminated if you really know what's going on in the scheme of things here. Desire, too, isn't the bad guy in the movie of your life, as the Buddha implies. Desire is a normal, vital attribute of consciousness. It, that is, we as conscious entities, always seek the new, always look for a new situation, a pleasing and unusual experience, new friends, new stimulation, new ideas. We are attached to desire. It's an essential part of being. That's not the problem. The problem is a failure in many instances to fulfill that desire. The real problem is achieving success in terms of undertakings, encountering failure and rejection rather than love in terms of desiring good relationships, feeling pain and illness in the realm of desiring health rather than energetic good fitness. Any of those negative issues you might experience are rooted within, lying within the subconscious as struggle and conflict, punishment and other mechanisms. But you won't get to them. Identify their specific root elements and eliminate them without a more comprehensive view of life. Be assured, efforts suggested in the Noble Eightfold Path, based on how the subconscious mind works, is not going to get you to an advanced clarity of perception and peacefulness known as nirvana. I'll explain just why once we've looked at the 8 components. The first 2 gestures of the Noble Eightfold Path are categorized as wisdom points: right view and right intention. Right view involves seeing life as it is, not being fooled by appearances. Right intention implies avoiding pleasure, power, fame, renouncing wealth and such. The Buddha was always recommending the middle way between wealth excesses and extreme asceticism. 3 points of the 8 look at ethical conduct, right speech, right action, and right livelihood. These all involve efforts done in a non-harmful way, exclusively speaking, acting, and gaining life's livelihood in ways that don't damage others. And the last 3 points have to do with mental focus, right effort, trying always to improve, right mindfulness, seeing things for what they are, and right concentration, that would be positive meditation. Now, these are all pleasant, peaceful undertakings, seeming to be positive goals of living, right? And if the Buddha says they'll get you to that state of nirvana, why wouldn't one want to do that? Well, here's why. All involve conceptual, rational overriding of natural impulse, not natural flow of positive things. Consider right intention and right speech, 2 of the Eightfold Path gestures, for example. The Buddha recommends that you intercede with natural, normal thoughts of a negative nature that come out during daily life. If your intent and speech don't fit the positive, constructive parameters of the Noble Path, you're supposed to revise them to the better, to correct them. For example, someone insults you in a heated discussion, so your thoughts turn to shouting back, perhaps even hurting the other in response to such an insult. The Path and the Buddha recommend right speech and right intent, cutting off those negative words and intended revenge, then substituting forgiveness and positive responses. My point is that those rationalized gestures are simply too late to really fix the deeper problems, which will simply reemerge later. The vindictive responses arise out of deep structures within the subconscious. Once they come to the level of speech or action, the rational mind can intervene, but it's too late to fix the deeper issue. Rational intervention might patch over the current situation, but it doesn't preclude future conflict-based responses. Spontaneous negative responses arise out of unfulfilling encounters. Things that happen which don't please you, which negate or neutralize your intent. When you engage negatives that you've attracted in response to your inner conflict, you tend to respond with equivalent countermeasures. The Buddha wants you to correct that rationally only as it emerges into actuality. But my point is that the conflictual situation that triggered your negative response is already a symptom of inner trouble. If you delve inward to find and dispel the inner mechanisms within your subconscious that attract conflictual situations, you won't encounter such events as that insult. So you won't have negative responses emerge, and you won't have to counteract them with rational override. Do you see the difference? Buddha's entire Noble Eightfold Path consists of reasoned override to natural responses that spontaneously erupt from your subconscious. I explain how to clear away inner elements that preclude negative situations in life that would ever elicit your impulse of conflict. So you would never need any of the 8 correction gestures. So, in general terms, in Gautama's day and for centuries, his 4 noble truths have been helpful and full of insight. His Noble Eightfold Path has been equally instructive, but deeper understanding and a personal journey to clear away inner conflict and struggle will eliminate the need for either. Life consists of much more than suffering. You can rid yourself of the suffering and make rewarding, creative, and fulfilling use of all of life's many gratifying aspects without the suffering. You can do that without squelching desire, because your intent, your desired positive impact in life will be realized. If you fulfill your desire, yes, you'll go on to other stimulating aspirations, but doing things creatively, artistically, with interest and vigor, that's what life is all about. Not withdrawing from life to meditate and fritter away an incarnation when you could be growing to better understand your own nature, a oneness with all you experience. So the Buddha provided great insight for his day and his time, but you can now grow beyond that. As insightful as the Buddha's take was 2,500 years ago, one should maintain the flexibility and open-minded attitude to move on to clearer, more penetrating perspectives when those are presented. The Buddha's 4 noble truths. 1. Life entails suffering. 2. Suffering results from attachment to desire. 3. Suffering ceases when attachment to desire stops. And 4. You accomplish that and via the Noble Eightfold Path. I would offer you yet another truth. Those things aren't exactly right. The Buddha did have many unique and trailblazing insights into life, but he's not quite right in his truths or the path to realize them. Suffering isn't standard equipment in life and can be eliminated if you really know what's going on in the scheme of things here. Desire is a normal, vital attribute of consciousness. It isn't the bad guy, it's an essential part of being. The problem is a failure in many instances to fulfill that desire. Negative issues you might experience are rooted within, lying within the subconscious as struggle and conflict, punishment, and other mechanisms. The Noble Eightfold Path. Wisdom points, right view and right intention. Ethical conduct, right speech, right action, and right livelihood. Mental focus, right effort, trying always to improve. Right mindfulness, seeing things for what they are. And right concentration, that would be positive meditation. Peaceful undertakings, positive goals of living, right? Why wouldn't one do that? Here's why. All involve conceptual, rational overriding of natural impulse, not a natural flow of positive things. Those rationalized gestures are simply too late to really fix the deeper problems, which will simply reemerge later. Buddha's entire Noble Eightfold Path consists of reasoned override to natural responses. If you delve inward to find and dispel the inner mechanisms within your subconscious that attract conflictual situations, you won't have negative responses emerge, and you won't have to counteract them with rational override. So you would never need any of the 8 correction gestures. The Buddha provided great insight for his day and his time, but you can now grow beyond that. You could be growing to better understand your own nature, a oneness with all you experience.